One Star Rewind.
We are back with I think it's episode 31 or 32. I should know this, Joshua. I forget. But back here with One Star Rewind, here with my guest, Josh Sims. Josh or Joshua?
Either or.
Either or. Yeah. Okay, either or. We're going to dive in, learn a little bit more about Oak and Ivy. Obviously, we'll talk about, we got a little treat for you today, everybody, or world, and Joshua. We're going to talk about 2 reviews. Normally, we don't do that. We're going to do it because, one, they're both pretty opposite from each other, but one of them pretty, like, 99% sure this was just somebody leaving a review. Right. Just trying to hurt a business kind of thing, and either malicious or not, that's how it comes across. So sure. We'll read that, but then the other one we'll talk about that one as well.
Perfect.
So, but before we dive in, we always talk about, we're sponsored by Rogue Media Network. You know, if you want a podcast about true crime, we have one about food. Josh, we got a food podcast. You know, all the things in between. You were on No Waco.
No Waco, that's
and you were on What's Up Waco.
Right.
Okay, so you're just going to hit all the Waco ones
that's our community. That's what we're going for.
That is our community, and we love that. So, but thank you for coming on here. Before we get into the review, we always like to start off by getting to know you a little bit.
Sure.
A little bit more. So tell us your story, where you're from, how you got to Waco, all the goodies, and then we'll talk about how you started Oak and Ivy.
Sure. So Josh Sims, I am the husband of Jennifer, who is a mortgage officer at South SWBC.
Cool.
Got 2 kids, 2 little girls, Georgia and Clara. They're 7 and 5. I've been in Waco since 2016. I grew up in Groesbeck, which is growing up in Groesbeck, 40 miles east of Waco. Waco was our big city, and so if we had a date we wanted to impress, or we wanted to actually have a good time, we had to go to Waco.
Yeah. So, Can I tell you my Groesbeck story real quick?
Sure.
Well, I guess more than a story, but so I was doing a program with Chick-fil-A. I was working at Chick-fil-A here in town, and there's a food truck. Chick-fil-A has a food truck. And they go to all these cities around Waco daily. And so Groesbeck was one of my stops, and I think those were on Wednesdays. If I'm correct, or I could be off now. But anyway, never had been out to that city. There's like this old, I think we used to be a Dairy Queen. Yeah. Yep. And we're in that parking lot, huge crowds. Like Groesbeck came out every week for that Chick-fil-A. But our propane was running low. And when you're in these smaller towns, usually there's like a station or a place that we can go. So the person I'm working with, she's like, hey, take the little transit car and take the propane tank over to this address. And I'm thinking it's like a gas station or like something that's going to have propane. I pull up, it's this dude's house, and I'm like, okay. And so like I'm on the property, and he has this propane tank in the backyard. So he's like, yeah, Chick-fil-A, yeah, I'll fill it. He's like, just hang out in my living room. And I'm in the living room, and Josh, there's this door, and it looked like a scene out of a horror movie, but I couldn't tell you how many locks. It was like 19 padlocks, and it was like, I was in his kitchen, and this door probably went to a basement or something, and I'm just like, what in the heck? What is behind this door? I didn't ask. I paid. I left, but it's always been in the back of my mind.
So the $1 million question is: was he keeping something out or something?
He totally. It's probably something out. There's a monster in Groesbeck. No, anyway, cool town. I loved going there and hanging out with the people that would come by and get food from us. They always were so nice and everything. So there's my Groesbeck story.
Well, sorry, I've got a few Groesbeck.
Yeah, I bet you have a few Groesbeck stories.
You know, and there's a few other Groesbeck alumni, Cody and Shane Turner. They're both from Groesbeck.
Oh, cool.
They may claim Thornton, which is a small town outside of Groesbeck.
Gotcha.
But
all right, so you grew up there.
Okay. I got my undergrad degree at UNT in Denton, and from there I got a consulting job at a aerospace and defense company in Dallas, and worked there for 8 years. Then worked at Southwest Airlines for 4 years. I got married. Jennifer was from California, and then opportunity came up for us to kind of relocate closer to my family. And
did you all meet in Dallas?
Yeah, so we met at a mutual friend's housewarming party.
Oh, cool. Nice.
And we had a very quick courtship. Matter of fact, we celebrate our 10-year anniversary this Friday.
Heck yeah.
We're having we're giving away free champagne.
Oh, baby. Okay.
Some bubbly at the restaurant from 8 to 11 on Friday if anybody wants to come by.
Very cool. Very cool. 8 to 11 this Friday, Oak and Ivy.
We'll
celebrate the 10-year.
Running some specials on desserts as well if anybody wants to eat somewhere else and then stop by.
Okay. 8 to 11 this Friday.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Okay.
Anyway, my wife said that Waco was as close to Groesbeck as she was willing to get. And so when we were relocated, we just bought a house over in Woodway and planted some roots.
Nice.
Yeah,
nice.
I worked at a company called Golden Acres. A local gentleman called Lou Bias hired me, took a chance on me, managed his ag company. Cool. And then he sold that company to a conglomerate in the Midwest, and they closed their operations down. So I went and got my MBA at Baylor. Yeah, I was the oldest full-time student there for a number of semesters, but it was a great experience.
Yeah, and with Clay Springer,
the lovely Clay Springer.
Lovely Clay Springer. He always spoke very highly of you.
Well, so I mean, we were in the same kind of life stages as one another, and so it was great having a little bit of camaraderie. Of course, he had 15 side gigs going on at the same time, so that dude was amazing, everything he pulled off.
Pretty much.
So yeah, and then wrapped up, graduated Baylor in December, and we broke ground on construction in November, and so
great.
Yeah.
So now, perfect transition. So you broke ground in November.
Sure.
So tell us how it came to be. Was there people telling you, man, we need this, we need a bistro, we need another place to eat in Woodway? Like, what was the starting point here?
No, it was kind of I never set out to own a restaurant. I've never worked in a restaurant in my life. Yeah. But the Outlook at Bosque Ridge over in Woodway, that development was finished kind of the early spring of 2020, right as COVID was kicking off, and so there wasn't a whole lot of movement on the commercial side.
Sure. Yeah.
People were kind of holding pat on their investments, and so my wife and I were coming back from Fredericksburg, and we saw that development. We started the conversation of what would fit there. Sure. And one of our favorite haunts down in Fredericksburg is just a wine and cheese bar.
Okay. Yeah.
And so we decided that would be a great fit, considering the proximity to some of the local neighborhoods.
Yeah, for sure.
And we had that conversation. It was pretty innocuous at first, but it kind of planted a seed. Mm-hmm. And I ended up doing the math and trying to figure out what would work. And I decided it would work. Yeah. So started at Baylor and started developing the business plan with the help of professors and students, and I found out that you can't have a bar in Woodway. You have to have the majority of food sales. Oh, okay. Slow Rise was truly the first restaurant in Woodway that came out with a full liquor license as well. Oh, wow. And it took them a couple of years to do that. Okay. So it was kind of new ground for the community, but everybody from City Hall and the surrounding community, they all were clamoring for something on that side of town. Oh, no doubt. And so I met with sommelier, Mark Moberg, who introduced me to a chef, Paolo Chamberlain, and we just hit the ground running, man.
Yeah, rest is history. Yeah. Okay. Well, I mean, first off, and if you're listening and you're in the Waco area and you haven't driven by, Oak and Ivy or just the whole complex there, it's beautiful. It is. I mean, you're coming in, especially if you're coming from like McGregor, coming into Waco or into Woodway, it totally it captures your attention because it's like nothing quite like in Waco. It's something where you would see this in a Dallas or an Austin, and which is a great thing. Sure. But that's like the first thing I always notice about, man, whatever's going to go in here is already going to have like eyeballs on them and already kind of have this level of like look and style. And I think that I could see why that was the first thing that kind of grabbed you and was like, what do we do over here? Because this place is awesome.
I mean, it's set on top of a hill, so you get amazing sunset views, and that was one of the things that drew us specifically to that location, and why we thought it would work. Yeah. But the development itself, they're probably only 25 or 30% finished. They got big plans for that thing, and like they've got an outdoor concert stage that hasn't been used yet, but eventually is going to be awesome. great place.
Man, that's so cool. Yeah. So, okay, talk to me about Oak and Ivy. What's how did the name come to be? I always love it. I find it so fascinating to see how people pick names.
So I'm not that original in a box by myself. And so as I was creating all the formation documents for this, I said, well, we're sitting on the top of a hill. I'm going to call it Hilltop Wine and Cheese.
Okay.
And I did that. And then a couple of weeks later, my wife found out what I did, and I got in trouble. So our goal behind this thing, our justification behind starting this was our mission statement says, Oak and Ivy exists to bring glory to God by building community through good wine and good food.
Cool.
And so what we want to do is build community.
Yeah.
And so the name, my wife actually came up with this. If the restaurant is the oak tree, and we want our customers to be the ivy, our guests. So the surrounding community, we provide the place and support for that community to grow.
Yeah.
And in Woodway, that's a common occurrence because you have ivy and oak trees everywhere.
Everywhere, yeah.
And so, especially in the older houses built in the 70s and 80s, there's all those. So anybody that's been in the area for a while will recognize the significance of oak and ivy, and we just applied that to our vision for the restaurant.
Oh, very cool. Very cool. I love how the name and the mission statement, not a lot of businesses like local startups or smaller operations are going to have a mission statement. A lot of times people just bypass it.
Right.
And sometimes you kind of forget your way. You'll be running your business for 3 or 4 years and kind of like, why did we get into this again? You just get so deep into the, your margins and customer service and all this stuff. And so I love that, Josh.
Yeah.
I think that's what it should be out there. And I think that will gravitate, and it speaks about the two of you too.
Well,
thank you. As owners. So
yeah. Well, since I didn't have any restaurant experience, I had to play to my strengths and what I love to do. And specifically at Southwest Airlines, I developed a passion for people.
Yeah.
And building them up and helping them be successful. And so I can handle the people aspect of it, from my employees to the guests, and then I crunch numbers and let the people who are good at what they do handle everything else.
Yeah. Get out of their way and let them do their job, for sure. Okay, we're going to take a quick break, and then we're going to dive in to the review.
Great.
Okay, you ready?
Yes.
All right, we'll be right back.
911, what's your emergency?
Do you hear that? It's coming from the house.
It's coming from inside the house? Do you mean? Could it be?
The Poltergeist. New from Rogue Media. 2 haunted hotties talking about haunted places. Every episode, we dive deep into the darkest places and give you a bit of history.
We're getting spooky in all the right places.
You've gobbled your last ghoul.
Follow along for the craziest and spookiest stories with Debbie's Dark Tourism. The Stanley Hotel,
Winchester House,
the Alamo,
Hotel Monte Vista,
and more spooky places. Find us at _Poltergals. POLTERGALS.
Look over your shoulder. It's us,
the Poltergals. Wherever you consume the podcast, you can find us there.
Frozen heroes. Gonna tell you about frozen heroes. Gonna tell you about.
Hey, I'm Zach.
And I'm Mike.
And we have a fantastic new podcast to tell you about. Bros, Foes, and Heroes. It's the two of us looking into the world of comics, breaking down some characters that you may have never heard of, and some that are just absolutely ridiculous.
Yeah, so Zach comes up with a character each time, and I go into it just completely blind. I don't know who this person is or what their abilities are or anything, and basically I guess we kind of go over their origin story and just some of the ridiculous stuff that maybe, especially Golden Age stuff.
Oh, Golden Age stuff is always the best, and we will make sure to highlight all of the shenanigans and just absolute weirdness of everything.
Yeah, that's right. So subscribe today and follow us on Instagram at Bros Foes Heroes.
And if you don't, I know where you live. Not really, but please subscribe.
Frozen Heroes. Gonna tell you about bros and heroes. Gonna tell you about.
Hi, this is Sarah,
And I'm Carter.
and this is Some of Our Thoughts.
We're two Southern sommeliers, and we want to share everything we love and know about wine. We started hanging out during quarantine and cooking and drinking and listening to music, and we just thought this would be a great way to bring everything we know to you guys.
We will make wine knowledge and food pairings easy and approachable. So put on your favorite vinyl, grab your favorite glass of wine, tune into our show, and let's have some fun.
Wine and
vinyl.
So check us out on roguemedianetwork.com or wherever you get your favorite podcast. We'll be talking about a lot.
Okay, we're back from that amazing ad break. I hope you hope you enjoyed all of them, whatever you listened to. We're here with Josh, Oak and Ivy. We heard about your past, where you grew up, how Oak and Ivy came to be. That was all fun and good stuff. Now let's get down to the nitty gritty.
Okay,
we're gonna read some reviews. So at the top, I mentioned we usually don't do this, so you're a special guest. We're gonna read two, mainly because the first one, it was from a month ago. You have been open now 7 weeks?
Correct.
Right, Josh? Okay, so 7 weeks. So this is very early on. Yep. And if you look at all your reviews, I think these are your only two below 5 stars. I went back, you have a 4.8 rating with like 45, 46 reviews in your first 7 weeks, which is great.
So I actually originally had three 1-star reviews.
Oh, okay.
And one of them, our second week, just trying to learn our reservation system, we overbooked.
Oh, okay.
And so I had to call 4 parties of 4
and
cancel their reservation.
Oh.
And I gave each of them a $100 gift card.
Cool.
But one of the guys, one of the reservations, left me a 1-star review because we canceled on them at the last minute.
Okay.
Understandable.
Sure.
He came in, had a good experience.
Good.
Adjusted his review to a 4-star.
Okay, there you go. Yeah. That very rarely happens.
Well, and credit to him, for giving us another chance and adjusting his review in light of that chance.
Huge. I really wish customers did that more often.
Yeah.
And I get sometimes the 1-stars are justified, sometimes they're not. But the ones that are, I love that if they've come back in and were given a chance by the owner or manager or whatever and had a good experience, like take the 2 or 3 minutes and get back on and just adjust and write a new review.
It speaks a lot to our culture that somebody that's willing to have one experience and then have a different experience will form an opinion based on in light of both experiences.
Yeah, for sure.
And then form their opinion based on that, and not just the one negative.
Not the one negative, for sure. Okay. All right. The first one we're going to read, John Harrison. Before we dive in, I have to do my rewind noise because we're going back in time for the rewind. So here we go. There's our rewind. So Josh Harrison, one review he's left in his Google life, and this was the review he's left. His profile is just the letter J. Doesn't always mean that it's a fake account or one that's not used a lot, but it definitely doesn't help his cause. John Harrison, usually you don't see first name, last name. Mm-hmm. You did a little research. In your reservation system, there was no John Harrison because, well, I guess we'll dive into this and reason why that wasn't a thing. But even trying to find him.
Right.
Yeah. Okay. So John Harrison said a month ago, went by to check the place out and it wasn't open yet. The staff was there hanging out and drinking wine and smoking. Peeked my head in and they said they were not open and I needed to leave. Tried to take pictures and got scolded. Rude staff like I have come to get used to in Waco. End review. Okay. I'm going to say something and then I'll let you respond. Because normally I say, what happened? But this is so beyond ridiculous. You're not even open yet.
Right.
They're coming by. There's workers outside, and you can. I know you're going to tell a story here, but drinking wine or smoking or not, they're probably doing work. Like, why is that? So that part bothers me. And then you're going in trying to take pictures of a space that's not open yet. Right. That could mean a plethora of things. Like that even might be, I don't want to say against the law, but like you're just taking pictures of some space that's not open yet. Like they could be trying to do something weird or I don't know. All of that seems super sketch.
Yeah.
So to leave this review, it seems out of line. But tell your side, Josh, what happened here?
So what frustrates me is, I did a lot of the finish out work myself. And so for the last couple of months, I was up there after hours by myself all the time. And I probably had 200 people stop by in those various evenings. And I was happy to open the door and let them in, and give them the tours and talk to them about what we're doing and let them see the space.
Yeah.
And so it was beyond frustrating to, and my staff knew this. They knew that I'd do it, and I encouraged them to always do it as well. And so it was super frustrating to hear this guy say, they wouldn't let us in because obviously community is our goal. Yeah. I'm never going to turn people away based on whether they want to see the place or not.
Yeah.
And so that was frustrating. And then when I saw this review, I went to my sommelier first because we were doing wine tastings for the servers.
Oh, okay, cool. Yeah.
And so they were in there several evenings a week tasting wine.
Sure.
And so I asked him, did this happen?
Mm-hmm.
He said no. Now I talked to my friend of the house manager and asked, hey, did this happen?
Mm-hmm.
And she said no. I went to my chef, hey, did this happen? She said no. Yeah. And then I went to all the individual staff and I asked them, did you interact with this guy?
Sure.
And they said no. I mean, for a variety of reasons that he listed out, like nobody's smoking in front or inside the restaurant.
Yeah.
Nobody's going to deny somebody wanting to come in and look around.
Sure.
Yeah, the pictures would have been sketched, but nobody asked them if they could take pictures.
Yeah.
And so it was just wrong on many levels.
Sure. Yeah.
And so it felt weird knowing that somebody would create this public opinion, this public review, and it's pure nonsense.
Yeah.
I can't determine anybody's motive for wanting to do that.
Sure. Yeah. I think it's the review game is so it's like on a knife's edge sometimes because there's no stopping somebody from just creating an account, go leave some review, fake or whatever or not, and just walking away and going about their life and thinking, well, it doesn't affect me anymore. But for the business, especially one, this isn't Southwest Airlines or a Chick-fil-A or these huge conglomerates. This is this is your baby, right? You and Jennifer, and it's your one location. Like these reviews matter, especially when a business is opening. And so it seems very suspicious. I don't know what like the competition. I know you said it's kind of unique being out in Woodway with the liquor license, so it's not like there's a lot of places like yours even existing in that city.
Right.
I know there was a lot of whatever you did leading up, Joshua, you and Jennifer, was brilliant because there was so much talk about Oak and Ivy. I mean, and I think just people liked the style and the look that it was going to be too, and the menu and the wine. And so I don't know if this is somebody that was jealous or what. Like I don't understand. It just seems for you not to even be open yet, and to not I don't know, coming and taking pictures and the staff scolded them. Like I don't know, John Harrison. I don't know, man. I don't know if I believe it.
I tried to find John Harrison just so I could talk to him one-on-one and get his perspective on the situation, but it proved to be a fruitless endeavor because I could not track the guy down.
Yeah, you had a reply here, and it was very, very kind. I think you were very nice. You're nice, like a lot nicer than some other owners maybe would have been, and that speaks to your professionalism. You talk about our staff are professionals, your restaurant's non-smoking, and then I love this at the end. You said if you want to take pictures, feel free to reach out directly.
Yeah.
Come on by.
Yeah.
I'll show you around. Like you said, you gave 200 people potentially a tour of the spot. you know?
Yeah, I welcome anybody that wants to see our place.
Sure.
And at this point, there's been probably several hundred pictures of our place posted online. Nobody had to ask permission. They just came in, were a guest, and they took their own pictures and posted. They didn't ask permission. And so come on back, John.
Come on back. Come on, John. Dude, get out of here, John. Where you at? All right. Okay. So that's our first review. But before we move on to the second one, so is this the first business you and Jennifer have owned?
Yes.
Started? Okay. So food or not, this is the first thing. Anything endeavor. Yeah. So how do you feel now being on this review side, being the one that gets reviews?
Yeah.
Do you like it? Do you not like it? Like 5-star reviews or 1-star reviews, all of them. Is it?
Yeah.
How do you feel?
I feel it's a weird mix because I feel there's part of me that says I'm going to do what our mission and vision statement says, and I don't care what 10% or what of the population that you're never going to make happy. I don't care what they say.
Sure.
But at the same time, it's on the internet, it's forever. And so all of a sudden I have this, I do want to make sure people are like us.
Sure.
I need to be loved.
Yeah. We're like, please give us the love here. Let us know we're doing well.
But I always keep in mind that like you're never going to make everybody happy.
Yeah.
But one of the things I took away from Southwest Airlines, if you make your employees happy, 99 times out of 100, they're going to make your customers happy.
Sure.
And so the rest of it, where we fall short, that's just customer service.
Yeah, it is. You're right. And Southwest is always, I grew up in Portland, Oregon is where I'm from. And so we didn't really have Southwest Airlines flying in and out or really at that point when I was growing up. So when I came to Baylor and I was here in Texas, that's when I started flying more Southwest.
Sure.
It's just a different experience. You're just like, man, I'm treated a little nicer here than I am in other places.
And the larger they've gotten over the last 10 or 15 years, it gets harder and harder to maintain that love feeling.
Sure. Yeah.
But when you compare them against other airlines, they do great.
They totally. Well, it's carried over into what you do as a business owner just by reading your replies. If I didn't know you at all, if I hadn't just met you, just reading how you've replied to both of these, I think speaks to your character and how you want to be as a business owner. Yeah. So I think that's awesome. Okay, second review.
Sure.
The reviewer's name is simply 3 letters, TDT, TDT. Not sure what it stands for. You might know. I don't know. Is this a thing?
No clue.
Okay, I don't know if there's like a thing the cool kids are saying. This person, again, no profile pic, but they have left 15 reviews. You and I both looked through them. They're interesting. We'll touch on that here in a second. They've done 2 photos, so they've put some time into this account.
Yep.
So either it's just their review account or they really do use this Gmail to answer actual emails and stuff like that.
Right.
So, which makes you think they're a real person.
Sure.
So that makes me feel better. This was 2 weeks ago. So, like we said earlier, there's been 3 1-stars. 1 got changed, which was great. This other one that we just read seems a little hokey. This one, they did come in, but like in, well, I guess, do you know if they ate there?
I do not. I
guess it doesn't really, it insinuates it maybe, but it doesn't say they did.
And I did look at our guest list that night.
Yeah.
And try to determine who it was. Because again, I would much rather solve this issue person to person.
Sure.
And try to bring some satisfaction to the situation as opposed to airing dirty laundry online.
Completely.
But I couldn't really ascertain who it was based on our guest list that night. So I just let it go.
Let it go. Okay, we're going to read it. This is definitely falls into and I feel like food, any restaurant, food concept, drink establishment, they get these kind of reviews because this is very subjective in how their viewpoint of a place. It has nothing to do with really their experience. Right. It was purely just how they see it. So that these are always really unfair and hard, but this one's kind of funny. So we're gonna read it. So they lead off. Expensive, period. Pretentious, period. Food, period. Uppity, period. Loud, period. Just not my kind of place, period. I prefer Texas to the Upper East Side of New York City. Yeah, never know though. You might run into Pelosi or Cuomo in here. End quote. So, Nancy Pelosi, I think Speaker of the House.
Right.
Andrew Cuomo, the ex-governor of New York City.
Sure.
So I don't know if they've been to Waco recently.
I don't know.
I think you would have known if they came into your restaurant. What happened here, Josh? Talk to me about this review.
I don't know. And to be honest with you, I did not realize, like, I'm not a decor guy. You know, there's a lot of input from my wife and a lot of input from an interior designer who did a great job. Jordan Shields did amazing consulting us on the interior design.
Yeah.
I did not know that our design would point others to a sort of political affiliation.
Sure.
Had I known that,
Yeah.
I would have, hired, a variety of consultants to get a bipartisan, feel for the place. But man, apparently we're all just raging Democrats.
I think everybody is now, especially if you have to have a nice upscale restaurant and wine bar, you got to be a Democrat. You can't be a Republican. No, I think that, to bring that into it, to call it, okay, so food. How would you describe your menu?
I would describe it as foo-foo food.
Foo-foo food. Foo-foo food place.
I mean, so there's 2 points to this, and I would take his first 3 statements together: expensive, pretentious, and foo-foo food. So we are in Central Texas in what used to be a small city, and it's growing. Yeah. But the expensive part, he's got a point. Sure. We are in our soft launch. We're working very limited hours. Yeah. Or I should say we're open very limited hours. And I still got to make money. Yeah. And so, he's
it's funny how that works, Josh.
He's right that, in the pricing ladder of our menu, I'm not where I want to be because our pricing is not all inclusive. Mm-hmm. Like if somebody wants to come in and spend $25 a head, you can do it, but you're limited in what you can get. Sure. And so I eventually want to get there when we're fully open, but we're not there yet. Yeah. So right now in this moment of time, sure. Call us expensive. Yeah. Are we much more expensive than? Are we any more expensive than other restaurants in town that you can get a similar experience? Not at all. Mm-hmm. We're cheaper. Yeah. We priced it that way. Sure. But I'll give him the benefit of the doubt that we're expensive. On the food part, we've got steak and potatoes, we've got quail, we've got duck, and we've got fish. We're a redneck's dream when it comes to food offerings. Yeah. Now, we're not grilling it up out of a garbage can that's been turned into a barbecue pit. Sure. But we're cooking these types of foods that hunters love, that fishermen love. I mean, maybe that makes it foo-foo food. Maybe you don't find steak and potatoes and quail and duck this side of the Mississippi. Maybe it all is on the East Coast. I don't know. I didn't do my market research that far out. Yeah, that far. All the restaurants between here and there. Yeah. Nah, I think, I was trying to pick, and they say uppity, loud, just not my kind of place. That makes me think that they ate there. I mean, that was I want to know if that was your impression. Did you think by reading this that they had actually eaten there, or they had looked at the menu, went online, checked out Instagram, whatever, and then just made an assumption about the restaurant? I don't know. Okay. My job when we're open, I typically try to make conversation with every table that we have and get a feel for whether they think it's a good value or not. Sure. And we've had some people give me feedback that it's not a great value. Okay, fine. Yeah. That's something that I take into consideration for our next steps. Sure. But I couldn't get a feel for whether this guy ate here or not. Most people that do eat, they have a little bit more specific feedback than what he had, because our steak is great.
Yeah.
I mean, we don't have any bad food on the menu. Our chef does a tremendous job.
Kills it. For Texas, so the Upper East Side of New York City, I lived in New York for a little bit. I don't know, I know that's a more expensive side of town. To say that I prefer Texas over this, there are amazing upscale restaurants that maybe have a higher price point, that their food is tremendous.
Sure.
In Texas, like you go to these big cities, you got Dallas or Austin, Houston, like, oh my goodness, you go downtown Houston, you're going to be paying a pretty penny, but it's really good food.
Right.
These kind of comments are like, not that they're trying to keep Waco in like this state where we can't have nice things kind of deal, but it's okay for us to get to that point and to have establishments like Oak and Ivy, for it to be, maybe it costs a little bit more to eat there, but that's okay. Like we can survive and go to places that aren't just Whataburger and McDonald's all the time,
right?
And so it's like that's where that subjectivity plays into these reviews. Is you might have somebody else leave a 5-star and was like, hey, this was great, finally having another place in town that has this level of expertise and the style that they're going for and that vibe, and not just always eating at, I love a good burger place, but so I don't know. It just feels like they're somebody that is maybe frustrated about maybe Waco changing a little bit or adding nice things, and they're just like, oh, let me just throw a stab in here.
Yeah.
I don't think they ate here. I don't think they ate at Oak and Ivy. That's my take.
I would also guess that based on the fact that there's no actionable items in there for me. Like anything that he said, I can't take action on because I don't know exactly what he's griping about.
Yeah, I don't know. The only one that makes any sort of sense for me, the why they were there, was loud. Mm-hmm. Is it loud? I mean, is there?
And it is loud. And I've spent quite a bit of money buying acoustic panels to hang from the ceiling, so I can address that problem. I mean, there's actually a couple of construction / capital expense things that we're dealing with. I mean, the development was built for retail, right? Sure. And we made it into a restaurant. We've got over 1,000 square feet of windows, and we're west facing. Yeah. We found out that it's tough to keep the place cool once we get it packed. Sure. We have an open kitchen. Yeah. And so it'll get up to 77, 78 degrees in there sometimes. Okay. And at one point it would get very smoky too. Oh, okay. We fixed the smoky part. Yeah. I'm trying to find a local place that can help me with the ventilation part, because it's something I got to get fixed. Sure. Even though it's only an issue 4 months out of the year, I got to get it fixed. And so we're working on that, and I'm trying to address the loudness. I talked to Massimo DeCampoli, and when he opened, he had the same thing. Okay. But he found out that there's not a whole lot you can do about it. Sure. I mean, you've got concrete floors, you've got hard ceilings, unfinished ceiling. Yeah. There's not a ton you can do about it. Yeah. And we're an open concept. I mean, there's no walls. It's just, and so when you get 75 people in there, it can get loud.
It can get loud. Yep. I'm curious. I want to take my wife, and maybe we'll come Friday for the 10-year for the 10-year anniversary. I'm curious what a loud. I mean, I know what loud is. Right. I'm loud, so I probably won't help the noise level. But I'd be wondering if I would notice it, while my wife and I are sitting there trying to have a conversation or eating, and I'm like, man, I can't even hear you. The only example or thing I can think of was we ate at Pivovar. This is a couple months back. My dad was in town. We had some other friends were in town, and they had live music going on. And I don't know if you've been there, but they have like that. Where the brewery tanks are, and they play guitar or whatever up on there, and it was so loud. Like I don't even think they were playing that loud. I genuinely couldn't hear my dad talking across the table, and we just kept laughing because it was just like comical how loud it was. But that was because there was music playing. Right. This is talking. I mean, this is just they're just saying normal conversation is loud. I guess.
Well, yes. Okay. So if you have a table larger than 4 people, if we're packed, it's hard to hear each other when we're talking at this volume.
Sure.
You got to kind of raise it up
a little bit. Okay.
And, and the research that I've done, I will be able to fix it a little bit.
Sure.
But
it's kind of
it is what it is.
It is what it is, yeah.
And it is not, it's a common vibe in a larger city, Austin, Dallas.
Yeah.
But in Waco, where your nicer restaurants typically have a subdued environment, lowered lights, kind of quieter ambiance.
Yeah.
It doesn't fit to what's known in the market.
Sure.
And we realize that, and not like we're trying to make an Austin or Dallas restaurant, but that's kind of the vibe. That's definitely our menu.
Yeah.
I mean, our menu's not comparable to anybody else in town. And so we are going to stand out in some ways.
Yeah. We I love this town. Been, between Baylor and now just living here as a resident and my wife being here, I've been here a long time. I love Waco.
Right.
We still are man, the food scene, we need more Oak and Ivies. We will sometimes drive to other cities just to go have dinner. Sure. We'll go hang out and do some other stuff, but we need that food scene to keep picking up, and we're getting there. I mean, the last 3 or 4 years, it's been a huge jump to compared to where it was, when I was in college, even after that. So I don't get discouraged, Josh. This is a good thing. And anybody else listening, if you have that concept that you think, well, maybe this is too nice for a Waco, or doesn't fit the vibe or the feel, I would challenge them. And I know I'm not the one starting it, but go ahead and do it. I feel like people will come out, and people have responded and eaten at your place. And it's been 7 weeks, and I've from the things I've heard, not just read, all your great reviews, but just hearing people talk about it and posting on Facebook, and it's had a very good, it's put the best foot forward for the things I've heard. Yeah. So, okay, last thing I want to talk about uppity for a second. So the chef, the sommelier, and then your staff, are they Waco residents, or did you pull them from other cities to move here? Tell me about your staff.
Okay, so my sommelier, he is from the Pacific Northwest originally.
Oh, cool.
He's been in town for many years.
Oh, nice.
But he's been in the coffee industry. He's been in the wine industry. He's been in the beer industry.
Okay.
And one of the things that I love about him, I'm not a wine connoisseur in the least.
Yeah.
But I cannot stand the pretentiousness of some sommeliers.
Sure.
That their knowledge of the specific thing in this world makes them superior. I hate that attitude. Yeah. And what I love about Mark is he speaks to wine. He's very knowledgeable, and he always makes great recommendations, but he talks in layman's terms.
It's good.
He is great at his job.
That's awesome.
And, I looked at that fit, because I don't want some uppity person, talking to, we're Woodway. Our core market is a town of 5,000 people.
Sure.
And so I know what fits and what doesn't fit, and he's a perfect fit.
Cool. Good.
My chef is originally from Columbia. She got her culinary training in McAllen.
Okay.
And then she's been in Waco for, I think, 8 years.
Oh, cool.
And she is extremely humble as far as chefs go. A creative person that's good at their job, there's often a level of superiority or narcissism there. You don't find that with her.
Cool.
She's very personable.
Good.
The kitchen staff, about half of them are local guys in the form of Clifton, Lake Whitney.
Cool.
And they are, they're great. They're like a fine-tuned machine.
Cool.
Front of the house staff, I've got 2 servers. One's from the Panhandle.
Okay.
One is local.
Yeah.
I've got a couple of, I got a Boston transplant and an Indiana transplant. And funny enough, those are 2 of they're the only ones that had fine dining experience. Okay. And everybody brags about them when they have them as a server.
Sure.
Well, actually, all my servers, they get bragged about.
Yeah.
And then I've got one young lady that is actually a Baylor student. And she works, but she does great.
Great.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't feel uppityness from a staff like that, and from you. I don't get that from you, obviously, either.
I'm from Groesbeck.
Yeah.
I mean,
That's the most uppity town in Texas. No, I'm kidding. Yeah. No, I think, I think the adjectives used, the little jab or whatever, this comparison, this Upper East Side of New York, like that's a bad thing. And then the whole Pelosi and Cuomo comment at the end. I don't know. This is frustrating. Like I've had other business owners in here say, man, at least give me a review that I feel like we did mess up and something that like we can own and try to be better at. Both of these, Josh, are just like, these are one is they're kind of funny and it's comical. You like you said, you have so many great reviews, so they know these are just these weird outlier ones, but it still just has to be like oh, I just want to strangle somebody. Like it's just like to get over these is weird and hard, but you've handled it with grace. You said in your response, you talk about like you're proud of your food. You source from Texas. Unlike anything else in town, like you started off by saying, sorry to hear we're not your kind of place. Like you're apologizing there, even though you had nothing to apologize for, but you apologize, and saying, hopefully your review can get us there. And so, is how your response ended. So to segue into kind of one of our final points. So did this review help, or either of these reviews, and I may know the answer to this, but did it help, the future of Oak and Ivy? Did it get brought up in a training, or did it help you figure out, okay, even though they're kind of both ridiculous, like, can we adjust how we do anything based off these reviews? So
I think self-reflection
sure
is always important whenever you get feedback, regardless of what that feedback is. And I realize that there is some measure of truthfulness to what this guy says, that some people are going to see our restaurant through this lens.
Sure.
And why I would hope that the interaction that they have with myself, with any of the staff, would belay that feeling. I realize that there's only so much I can do in that regard. I've already invested what I did in the decor. It's not like I can, start hanging up John Wayne posters or anything like that. Yeah. Although I would love to have a Lonesome Dove.
Sure. That would be nice. It might help with the sound too, maybe.
Maybe. So, and never stop improving, with the staff, with our product. I mean, continuous improvement's part of my background, and so I bring that to the business. And so, anytime I see opportunities for improvement, I want to take that challenge and see if we can improve in just small ways. But he didn't give me much to work on.
Sure, there wasn't much to work with here, not at all. So, so if he was here, this is how we end every show. If I was TDT, Tom Dallas Thompson, I don't know, is there any final parting words you would like to say to me if I was here right now?
I would just ask you, or ask him, what are you looking for? And was there something in our website or the reviews that you had previously heard that made you think you were going to get something different than what you got? Because I want to make sure that our message, I haven't paid for any marketing. I haven't done any advertising yet. And so I want to make sure that the message that's out there is true.
Sure.
And so if anybody's getting a poor impression of what we are before they visit us, I want to know that. And if there's, again, ways that we can improve to make ourselves more welcoming, love to hear that.
Cool. That was a very, very good response. I love it. Well, Josh, any final thoughts? Anything you want to share with us before we leave?
No, I appreciate you letting me vent.
No problem.
To these guys that I've never met and have never met me, and I thank you for the opportunity to address these reviews.
Can I ask you one Southwest Airlines question?
Absolutely.
Are you a fan or not fan of the pick your seat? Like choose wherever you sit, as long as you're in the order or wherever.
I'm a fan when I'm early in line. I'm not a fan when I'm at the end.
At the end of the line. I love it. I'm a fan of it, but I was just curious what your thoughts were. Cool, Josh. Thank you, sir. Appreciate you coming on One Star.
Thank you, Cory.
This has been a Rogue Media podcast.